forget to hit like and subscribe with notifications so you know when we upload a new video.
Tonight I planned a event we're going to, and Uncle Dave doesn't know anything about it because he is sensitive sometimes about certain topics.
I'm scared.
So, do you have any ideas of what we're doing?
Well, since I know you and Ray, and I have some idea that it's some kind of, I just heard what you guys are talking about, some kind of ghost thing.
Yep.
Just that's it though.
Okay. So, we are going to a location which I'm not going to disclose yet.
Yeah.
It's about an hour away, and we're going with a professional ghost hunting team and doing an investigation with them for the next 5 hours.
Right.
And it's like, well, so we've been on vacation before, and we do like ghost walks, and they're like, friendly, whatever.
Yeah.
This is like complete opposite.
Right.
This is hardcore. We're gonna be in the shit.
Right.
For ghosts, I guess.
Ghost shit.
It was expensive.
Right.
And yeah, that's about what we'll give right now. Ray forgot the one thing he was supposed to bring.
Yeah, I did.
Where?
Park Hill Road.
Desk at work.
We're going into a haunted mine.
Yep. Actually, I don't think that's where I'm supposed to go.
Well, it says it right there, though.
Yeah, I know, but the map says up here. Yeah, right here. Yep.
There's like no one here.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be.
This is all thought up in his mind. It's not real.
Could you imagine? Let's see that statement.
Who did you give that money?
Serial killer trap.
Alright.
So we just got here, and we're at the Sterling Mine, and that's about all I got to say right now. I'm not sure what to expect. Hopefully Ray gets touched, and we'll go from there.
Is that what you're?
Word.
Yeah. Oh god.
On your left over here in traffic. Just pick a seat, any seat, wherever you guys want to sit.
For anyone that does follow me, you guys know that I'm pretty much everywhere. But I love doing events because it's one thing to be on the other side of the screen for people, but it's another to actually take people that don't get to do this every day and experience places with them. So I'm super excited to work with you guys tonight and kind of see what we can get. But next year, me and Savannah are doing a lot more international stuff. So I'll be doing Cambodia, places in Germany. Where else are we going, Savannah? I'm just talking. UK, Germany, the Netherlands. So, because it's crazy when you start looking at history, right? Here you're like 1700s. Wow, that's really old. And then you start looking at locations over there, and they're like in the year 500, and like it's a little bit. So there's kings or something. Yeah. So it's just crazy stuff that we want to go check out, and I want to stream from those places because that's something that really never hasn't been done. So I'm logistically working through setting up how networking works in third world countries, which is posing to be a little difficult, but we'll figure it out. Does anybody have any questions first off? Because I can talk about a million different things and take us a million different directions.
I'll ask for it. I saw you live with in Deptford, the tattoo shop. That was really different.
Yeah.
Was it? I mean, just they're explaining it in a manner of speaking, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say, right? Because I think for me, I come from a background that was super, I have a criminal justice background. That's what my bachelor's is in. So for me, they have a lot of serial killer memorabilia and murderabilia, which for some hands that's obviously like glorifying them, but on other hands it's just pieces of history. So I think it just depends on the capacity in which you're looking at it. And I think that could be a lot, because we even have people that say, well, when you run paranormal investigations at places, you're just exploiting the things that are there. But all of us know that's not what we're doing, right?
I know, but I mean, when I saw like just everything that they had, I was like, where do they even give tattoos?
Yeah, so they've got the tattoo chairs, and then all of a sudden you're just like looking at thousands of eyes of dolls. So I've never been any place like it. They were really nice people to me.
I know, I've seen
Really
it.
great exclusive thing I got to do, and I was super happy about that. I don't have any tattoos, so I don't have any like business to do there, but it was a really cool experience for sure. But like I did Devilistry yesterday, and I was telling him, there's like no way you can investigate that. There's like cars going constantly, you got planes coming
I
about.
thought I heard a laugh too when you guys did the EVP. It sounded like a laugh.
We had some good EVPs. I had to turn the sensitivity down to like nothing, because you've got like crickets and cars and
That you heard a lot
airplanes.
of. And then of course the siren.
Yeah, the siren, and then we did an Estes there though that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I heard that.
Cause like I end up sacrificing trolls in my life, so if like somebody comes in and says something stupid, instead of just like blocking them, I just like offer them up to anything in the area, and that usually scares them enough to leave. But what's weird is, so last night I did it. We were at the Devilistry, and some guy named Andrew came in, and I forgot what he said, but I was like, all right, for any of the entities here, you can have Andrew's soul. And then my wife says, Andrew. I'm the spirit box. I was like, all right, Andrew, you're done. And he left. So
Was that really Robert the dog?
I don't know. See, that was another one. So that video comes out tomorrow, and I do things in that video that I've never done. Don't know that I'll ever do again. And it was a wild experience.
Like ritual stuff, or?
Yeah. So I took a needle and I like bled on one doll,
Ritual stuff.
and it felt like my whole body caught on fire. Like, it was the craziest experience I've ever had. I've never had anything like that, and I've been to a lot of places. But we're sitting there, and we're doing it, and it feels like my body catches on fire, and then I end up getting like sick outside. We had to take like a 30-minute break, and we didn't record anything. So my buddy Josh is laying on the floor pouring water all over himself, because he had the same. It wasn't just I had the experience and he was just looking at me. We both felt like something caught us on fire, and I've never had anything like it. And I've toyed with a lot of stuff, and I've never had that experience. So from that point, I kind of got what I was asking for. But that's kind of my whole persona, is just pushing the comfort levels of what we do, and sometimes that ends up biting me in the ass. But I got tied to the execution table at the Nevada State Prison, which that's an experience. Even if it wasn't paranormal, that was really cool, because like how many people can ever say they went into the death chamber and got strapped to a table that 40 other people died to? It was 15 minutes. But I don't know if it was the lack of oxygen that was making me go wild or what, but I was starting to get pissed.
Yeah, we did. I was like, wow.
And what's weird is you can go watch the whole final interview from the serial killer that they executed in that chamber, but they gave him Valium before his execution. And the Valium actually reacted with the lethal injection drugs, so he ended up like suffering in that space. Which again, we're not sympathizing with people that murder 35 people, but in the same token, his whole thing in the interview was, I don't want to suffer, and he suffered. So it was that place is very, very cool. If you ever make it out to Nevada, that's one that it's 500, but for the vastness of the facility, it's a really cool experience. Because it's not like West Virginia Penn or Mansfield where they closed decades and decades ago. I mean, this one just closed in 2012.
Yeah.
So it was open from the 1880s to 2012, and you've had a lot of people come through there, which if you've ever been to Reno, there's plenty of people that get incarcerated.
I think that was one of the close adventures where Zach was saying that they were closed, but they were still had it open for executions.
Yeah, so he wasn't actually supposed to go into the execution part because they were still had it open for the possibility of executions, but they built a brand new correctional facility right next door. So like when you go investigate, you can't wear blue jeans because every inmate wears blue jeans. So if there's a prison break and you're wearing blue jeans, and they're looking at you like you're an escaped prison. So that's just one component of it. But yeah, so like he went up into the execution chamber, but they didn't let him go in. The only other people that have been in that space would be Chelsea from Project Fear, but she couldn't stay in the room. She's like, I gotta get out of this room. So she actually sat outside of the room. So yeah, again, I'm always about pushing the comfort level, because I think, for me personally, that's what's really fun, right? Is when you have experiences, like this is all just an experience for us. Life is just an experience. So I want to live mine in a way that you can turn a camera on and it's not anything crazy, it's just me living my life. And that's kind of how I create my content, is you're just kind of seeing the places I'm going and investigating through the lens of our camera, and that's it. I was telling him, there's a lot of TV projects out there, but TV it's not all it's cracked up. It's a lot more fun when you're in control of making all of your own content, because then you don't have the pressure of a company saying this is what needs to happen, or this isn't going to work.
Yeah, actually just
Sorry,
YouTube now. That's what it is, YouTube.
All that. They try to fit a narrative a lot. And it just,
Yeah, and it's like everywhere you go, they make it gloom and doom.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, a lot of places you do go, there's a lot of death, but that's not to assume that everything there is bad.
Right.
And I think that's just where I find the comfort in what I'm doing. And like even with the live streaming stuff, I love doing live streaming because like when I do my lockdowns and I go and set up 8 cameras in a place across the US, and you're able to just sit there at home on your phone and just get audio and video feed from 8 hotspots in a haunted location, like that's cool to me. Because then it's giving people that don't have the luxury of traveling 24/7 and doing this 24/7, they can sit at home and be a part of that. So that's my whole emphasis when I do this, is taking people on that adventure and giving the most access to people at home to participate in that.
There's Ghost Adventures.
I have to give credit for Steph. I really enjoy when she does with Estes,
Yeah.
but I also know that must be hard on her.
Oh, hard on me?
Yeah.
Yeah, some locations more so than others, like when he made me do it in the death chamber in Nevada State Prison. Yeah, I did not like that at all.
And I saw what was it, the Philly something?
Billy Creek Village?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. When I was, during Estes or when I was by myself?
By yourself?
Yeah, that was not fun.
No. I was like, I was actually like,
Over there.
I was feeling for you.
Yeah.
She wasn't really big in the paranormal. Like her extent of paranormal exposure was watching Ghost Adventures.
Right.
Which, I mean, that's what I grew up on. Like, cause
I mean, I not go up on that. Since
that's what I grew up
Ghost
watching.
Hunters as well. I mean, we don't kind of follow that, Ghost
And like,
Hunters-
and I won't shy away from it. Without folks like that making this as mainstream it is, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you today, right? So it's like there's always so many people that throw shade, but at the end of the day, like there's people that came before me that opened the door for me to be where I'm at today. So you can be grateful for that, even if you don't like certain people.
I mean,
It's got a cool museum though.
we talked about that and during the interview we did, and I didn't really know Kalani all that much, and somebody, I think Dustin Harry told me about you, and I checked out some of your videos too on TikTok. He's got a huge following on TikTok. He's like 4 million people or whatever. And I'm watching him, and I was listening to him speak, and I was just like, so many people, they take like the mystical, metaphysical side of the paranormal. Others are, the other way, and some are in the middle. But when we interviewed you, and I really got to talk to you, I was just like, again, how old are you? No offense.
I'm 25.
25.
Yeah.
He's a young guy, to me anyway. I'm 35. But, but anyway, I mean, your background, bachelor's in. I was surprised that paranormal, again, you're at least open to everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's the way you need to be in this field, is you can't just ever say I know it all, because you don't know that much of it, probably.
Well, and I tell people this all the time, right? It doesn't matter if you've been doing this for 10 minutes or 20 years, right? It's all based in theory. Everything that we do is a theoretical approach. So with that being the fact, is it's all based in theory, is you have to be very open to whatever the possibilities may be. If you're a more scientific person and you're looking at it from a scientific approach, and you're taking measurements and you're comparing measurements based off of what you're getting to not getting right, at the end of the day, they can come out tomorrow and say that electromagnetic fields have nothing to do with ghosts, and we've all just spent the past X amount of years of our life running around with EMF detectors. That's just the brass tacks involved, right? That's the reality of it, is we don't know exactly how we're dealing with what we're dealing with. And that's what's fun about this, is there's so many questions, and if you think you have an answer, you've just opened up the door to 4 more questions. And that's what I love about this is, before I was criminal justice, I was a nuclear engineering major, because I'm really good at math. But with math, you know, A plus B gives you C. But with the paranormal, you kind of think you know what A is, you kind of think you know what B is, you definitely don't know what C is, and at the end of the day, you have no idea how to get to that. And that's what's fun for me, is I can continue to think I'm learning something, and then something else will happen, and then now I feel dumber, and I have to go back at it again. But this is one, no matter how long you've been doing it, like, you can be experienced in understanding how what you have works, but I don't think you can be experienced in the capacity of, well, I've seen everything, because you haven't. Like with the Robert the dog. I had been around haunted object after haunted object, and I've screwed with all sorts of stuff. I've kissed dolls, I've thrown dolls, and then this is the one that gives me the experience that I'm like, okay, maybe I won't do that as much. Still probably do it. I don't ever learn, but I'm stubborn.
That's what we get wrong.
But, I mean, that's what's fun about this is I love the history. History is one big thing. So I saw Civil War drummer boy when I was 11, and that's what put me into the paranormal. I saw a Confederate drummer boy, and he was dirty, and I thought he was a reenactor. This is how real he looked to me. And I wasn't looking for a ghost. I was just tipping people's tents in the woods at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I stumbled across this little drummer boy. And then I watched him dissipate into the air. So from that point, it wasn't, is there something else out there? It's, how can I find that moment again? Well, I can stand in front of you now and say I've never had anything like that happen yet. I'm still hopeful. But that was enough to get me interested to a point to where 2 years ago, because whenever we would travel, I used to run events for an event company out of Tennessee, and that was my extent of being able to ghost hunt, because I had a normal job, and I was ghost hunting, leading groups for people. And then my wife, anytime we traveled, we'd try and find a haunted hotel to stay at, see if I could have an experience. And then she just had the idea, she's like, well, why don't you make videos about it? And that was the start of where we're at today. So
we were talking about, I clipped that for a TikTok that we were talking about your story there. And I have the whole entire interview, and I was watching that part again, we were telling the story about seeing that boy. And you're like, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm wondering, why is this little boy out here? Why is he still in his reenactment outfit? And we were talking about, like, you know, maybe he's like a method actor or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the whole time he's never, it's out of character. But have you seen that version since?
I've seen like dense shadow masks, but nothing as vivid as looking at, like I could look at his clothes and see the wool texture, and he was dirty, and it was a full person. Like I've seen half people, I guess the best way to describe it. Like you'll see like a torso, but you won't see legs. But I've had this weird little kind of theory going, because I've had so much happen where I start looking more into space rather than like I'm just seeing things appear, right? Because light and space and time are all just information, and what determines if you perceive the correct information is the instruments that's gathering the data, right? So we're going to jump down a wormhole, but I've sided more with that. Sometimes I feel like we're dealing with a parallel in time that's happening in the exact space, but a different area in time. And there's bleed through coming from our timeline and their timeline. I know we're getting into like Avengers movie stuff here.
Multiverse.
But that's really what it feels like, right? So, because you look at a lot of hauntings and everybody's like, well, is it intelligent, is it residual, right? So when we think residual, it's just playing on that loop of when it was alive. But what if it's alive in its time and it's not aware of us in our time? So it's not residual in the capacity of it's dead, it's just alive at a different time, right? So you're staying in this farmhouse at 2 o'clock in the morning. On any given night, you hear steps coming up. Could just be a farmer walking up the steps to his house in his time, but to us, that's the ghost haunting you.
Or we could be the ghosts.
And that's the other thing, is we had an experience at a place called the Bell Mansion in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they thought I was the ghost that they were hunting for.
Wow.
So we're doing Estes, and they're like, are you dead? And I'm like, never had this question come through. I'm usually the one asking this question. I was like, I am not dead. And then she starts cursing, almost like somebody was like surprised. And then they were like, well, can you knock on the wall? And then I would knock on the wall, and then that's when she flipped out. Whoever was communicating through her flipped out. So this is where, like, so people that are gifted, right, can see and hear things that others can see and hear. I'm not one of those people. But I feel like, what if that is kind of the bridge to them seeing us and us seeing them? And these are the people that are communicating the most effectively with the stuff we're trying to communicate with. So this is the stuff that and what sucks is, like as a content creator, you can't really jump down that rabbit hole because people are going to think you're on like 12 different drugs. But when you can have things like this, like these are people that are passionate about what it is, and it's just a different perspective on something that we've looked at through only a few different lenses through the duration that we've all kind of been interested in this. So that's what's tough is like, I want to give people a full dinner meal, but they just want, a bite of steak. And that's kind
That's
of
what they see on TV. I mean, on
Exactly,
TV, they're
yeah.
just saying, we're going in, this place is haunted, here's the history, let's go.
Yeah, and that's kind of
all that other stuff never factors in, it's just.
that's the combat point, right? Is it's like you're competing against TV in the capacity of people want instant gratification. They want stuff that's happening right in front of their face right now. And that's what's tough is, like when I live stream, I can stay live for 12 hours and we could have nothing happen, but people still watch for 12 hours because you never know what I'm going to do, but also you're like hoping for that one instance that something happens. But then all of a sudden you turn on a TV show and they're there for 2 days and all of a sudden there's stuff flying. And that's kind of what the whole reason I started like the 8-camera live streams was I wanted people to see how boring it really is. Because you could be in the most haunted place in the world. I've done Waverly Hills many times, and there's sometimes I go in Waverly Hills and nothing happens. I mean, you're sitting there like, I just spent $1,100 damn, and I'm walking around getting nothing. Right? People think you walk into Waverly Hills and you'll see stuff flying around, and it's just not how it works. But I think when the more people see that, and it's not as in your face about like, stuff has to fly, poltergeist activity, we're getting possessed in the back room. That's kind of what I've been combating just by existing. Because people are watching and like, well, this guy's strapping himself to tables and he's not getting possessed, he's not ripping his shirt off. So that's kind of the fun part is I don't even have to say anything, and people are like, okay, wait a minute. I was just watching TV and this guy was in the same space and couldn't sit there for 10 minutes, and this guy's passed out on the floor for 6 hours. So that's the part I enjoy is it just gives people a different perspective.
Do you think that some places are like overly investigated, that it's just, they just use it, like, as far as?
Well, so if you think about it in terms of energy, right? If you're communicating with energy, right? There's a point where energy is depleted, and there's a point where energy is not depleted. And I don't know how that depletion process or the regeneration process works, but I have found that less of the big box stores are usually more active, right? So, for example, I did this house in Kentucky called Woodlawn Manor, and I was like the 4th guy to ever investigate it, like really new location. And we're doing an EVP session upstairs, and I hear something run at me. And I've never had this happen, but I could feel the wind, I could hear the steps, and I jumped because I thought I was about to get tackled by somebody that came in the house, and there's nothing there. And you can hear it from 2 different camera angles. I jump into my wife's lap, which she was freaking out. Like you can see the camera just doing this, just shaking. And you can see the mic shaking. And obviously those moments are few and far between, but I've had a lot more of those moments at places that have not been commercialized. And I don't know if it's because there's no energy in those places anymore, or if they've seen so many people that come through that they're very picky about who they want to interact with. And that's what's really cool. And that's why when I first started, I was a hothead. Like I would try and tell people like, oh, there's no way you had that happen there. I've been in that place for 12 hours and never had anything happen. But then the more I've done it, the more I've learned that certain entities react to certain people and for whatever specific reason, right? There may be something in your life or something about you that they would like to interact with more than me, right? And they might do something crazy for you. And for me, I couldn't even get an EVP, right? So that's why now, when people say they've had like a crazy experience, I don't discount it because they could go into the same space and something there could interact with them in a way that it would never interact with me. And I think that's what's interesting is you start to meet so many different people, and so many people are in different areas of the paranormal, right? You've got some people that they'll take a photo with long exposure and they'll see light trails that they created by moving their phone, but then they're seeing all sorts of stuff that I'd never see. But it's not my place to take that experience away from somebody, right? And I think, obviously orbs and stuff, like some people believe in it, some people don't. I'm sure there's people here that believe in them. I've had some weird things show up on camera that look like dust at first, and all of a sudden it moves into like a face, and then it comes back to dust. But that's what's cool about this, is you can have your opinion about whatever, whether it's equipment, methodology, or just belief, and no one can tell you you're wrong. As long as you can say why you believe what you believe, there's not really anyone that can tell you for certainty otherwise. And that's what's cool. Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is there one place that you ultimately like to go to that you haven't been to yet?
Yes, so this one is going to take a lot of money. But Jonestown in Guyana, South America will be one that I will do. I don't know when, but it will happen. Because you have to, so this is the logistics of this place. You've got to get a prop plane to fly into the jungle. Then you have to hire a security team. But you have to take more money than you're anticipating, because the security team will turn on you and tell you if you don't pay them more money, they're going to kill you. So then you got to pay your security team more money. But I want to be able to be the first person to stream from Guyana. So that's like my dream, which is a very twisted dream. But
It's gotta have a lot of energy for
when and no one's ever been there. So I talked to Jim Jones Jr. He doesn't do interviews anymore, but he gave me contacts of people that were from Jonestown that still do interviews and stuff. But the whole story is interesting to me because obviously everyone knows the ways are well. But there's
buildings, and he said that number is actually triple of what you're thinking is, because they didn't start tracking accidents and deaths until the early 1900s. This mine was open in the late 1600s. So think of all of those workers, child laborers, immigrant workers, that probably had accidents, cave-ins, explosions that were never reported, that are just there, you know? So we came in the one time, and we were in an area that's adjacent to where we are now. And we just sat and we listened the very first time we were here, and we heard voices back and forth talking to each other. And you'll hear like whistling in the air, you'll hear, again, we can't guarantee anything, like Kalani said. You get in there and whatever happens, happens. But we do our best with the experiments that we're doing, and with the equipment that we have, to try to engage and communicate with whoever might be there. The one thing I want to mention, I see you, is that a camera there that you have? We allow audio. You can record in there audio-wise, but no video once we get into the line and do different things that we're doing. Okay, so audio's fine. You can take pictures for sure. I recommend that you take pictures. Because in different areas, you just never know. But yeah, no video, just audio. I encourage people to record if you can in the different areas, because nothing's better. Yeah, we don't want to spend 8 hours with every camera and every recorder, but if you just have your one specific audio recorder or phone, you go home, put your headphones on, there may be things in there that we missed during the course of being in one particular area that you captured. And if you do, send it to me, or send it to Kalani, and we'll put it up, you know. Anything else that you want to add as far as your equipment or anything like that?
I got a few things with me. So this is my DR60, which some people are split on it. I love it. Some people hate it. But I've had really clear stuff on this, not like the garbled, like, it just said demon. No, I didn't say that. But I've had stuff come through clear as day, cussing me out. I've had a few Class A's on it, or like the other day. So sometimes I'll have people in my stream, like, come on where they can speak into the space that I'm in. And a girl asked if they wanted me to stay till 8 o'clock in the morning, which that's, no. But it said, I do. And it was clear as day, something just sitting there in the room, and it picked it up. And I wasn't even heard in the entire building. So I have some that come through that are just incredibly clear. Sometimes you'll hear laughs and just other creepy stuff. So I love my DR60. You got a couple brand laying around, go get you one. But I use this. This one is algorithmic EMF. So your phone actually won't set this one off. Like you can put your phone right next to it and it will go off. But it has an algorithm. It's a guy, his name is Rob, he's a cool dude. He also makes this EMF device. But anyways, it takes in the data and then it decides whether it's yes or no. And then the longer flashes are actually a higher energy input. So you can kind of debunk a lot of the environmental stuff because they'll just be quick flashes. But when you see a really long flash, it's just a simple yes/no device, but really cool. I've got RIM pods. We all know about RIM pods. I've got EMF spikes. You know, I've got like 20 different ways to detect EMF, which is what a lot of us end up finding. I've got a thermal that I use. There's this new device which it's kind of in its early stages, and it's the size of a smartwatch, but it's got a bunch of sensors built into it, and they come from the UK. Powered on. But this one's really cool.
Oh, it's Happy Church?
No, it's called the Chattergeist.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's it.
you've got to keep it plugged in, which is like my biggest gripe, because I don't want to walk around with a power pack.
Yeah, that's the worst thing.
But it'll power on, and it's got this little Ouija board, which I like this one because it's not anybody moving a planchette. Like I've had certain things get spelled out that are like names, which can be really cool. I've also had like somebody just spamming a keyboard come through, which you get that more often than not. But I've had really cool stuff with this. This one's relatively new. I like trying stuff. I'm a very techie guy, but I end up using like the same 3 pieces of equipment, and I've got pretty much everything that you could ever buy. But that's just because you have things that are your favorites, and you have things that do really well. Like some people, I used to use mag lights a lot. I broke all my mag lights.
I used those, I think, at one time.
Yeah, and then you learn that like that temperature can really fluctuate.
Yeah, expands and, yeah.
But I had a music box, and I broke that, so I gotta order another music box. My stuff I travel so much, it's just getting beaten, and then you go through the airport, which if you've ever taken a custom spirit box, this is a cleaner custom spirit box. But I have one that's in this little orb ball looking thing. And you look inside, and it's just a bunch of wires and glue. So I take it through security, and they think I'm trying to bomb the plane. So they pull me aside, and they start questioning me, and they're like, "Are you an enemy of the United States?" I'm like, "What?" They say, "What is this for?" I'm like, I talked to Ghost with it, and then he goes, "Okay, we're gonna have to do a little bit more questioning on this one." But then they look at my page, and then they follow me, and I've sent Savannah through with it as well, and she gets pulled to the side. I'm like the last person that you would ever suspect walking through to get pulled aside is Savannah. So I man, I need to step aside. What's inside of this? But you turn it on, and you're like, "Yeah, we just sit here and listen and hope something comes through." People are